Good morning from New York. Another boomer video. Found out that it's kind of simplistic videos without any special effects or quality. the, the younger folks, they call it boomer videos. Here you go, another boomer video. And to thank Big Linux for making this possible for me. Their microphones quieter, whatever. Senator. Um, yeah, I'm a boomer. That ignorant one, but yeah, that's working. You know, that's working. If I can get used to how it works and speak up enough to make sure my voice comes out clearly. Yeah. So, what's today? Well, and all of the great Linux channel creators on YouTube, and all of uh, the scientists who given their time to make videos that are helpful for everyone to expand their mind. Notable mention, Neil deGrasse Tyson. His show is, what is it, Star? Hmm. I'll have a link in the description of this video. Yeah, there's also Michio Kaku, which is great, and so many others on this who volunteer their time to tell us about the cutting edge of science, philosophy, and whatever that in my day it didn't exist. College, well, it's just there. Huh? Oh, by the way, what is where does the term turtleneck? Where do you think that came from? Well, it hides your neck, right? When you get older, yeah, whatever it is, it looks like a turtle and a turtleneck. You know, amazing. Yeah, hiding the devastation of age. Big market for that. Anyway, the subject for today is inner mind communication that you do every day and what your dreams might be telling you. So, yeah, dual monitor boomer video. Okay. Well, I was talking to, as I often do, picking up a coffee at a local gas station, store. Um, Lovely young lady who's very smart. We carry on conversations. We carry on conversations that that where I'm introducing her to these concepts, which she gets, just almost immediately every time. She's like, ah, yeah, right. Boy, I wouldn't have gotten that fast. She's young. Just a beautiful personality with great creativity, objectivity, and passion in her communications. Yep. And I tried to just describe something to her about how these practices are done every day by people, in one form or another. The creative empathy deal that I talk about. Attempting to meet another person's needs or your own using, empathy and using a particular perspective, which I call forms of empathy. Well, objective empathy, how do you do that every day? Every day that you try to be reasonable and think about your situation and how you would like to go forward, and you reasoning within your mind. That's the practice of talking back and forth from your dramatic self to your inner counselor. It sounds so mysterious. But you do it every day. Every day you do that. So what's special about that? Yeah. Oh, we do that in our therapy. Maybe that's it. Then maybe that's all they do. Okay. Talkie therapy. Yeah. And then there's but it's to put it down, it's useful, one of the practices. But the creative empathy, mind to the artist in you, the artist of all you imagine, creator, the ultimate controller of how you see the universe and what the universe is to you. Looking at things from a lot of different perspectives. So how do you do that every day? Well, cold maybe. You daydream about being on a California or Florida beach, and the lawns are soaking up the sun. Yeah. Then you might drift over into the other practice, the objective empathy. How can I plan a trip for that? Is that possible? Can I afford it? What can I do that might be close or similar? Yeah. And the other thing, the compassionate empathy, where you basically dialogue between your dramatic self and significant others, good or bad, where you need to have some caring going back and forth, and some understanding, permission to express needs and feelings. And how do you do that? Well, when you reminisce and you think about people you care about you, maybe those who are no longer with us. Maybe you talk to them. Yeah, you do. In your mind, anyway. That's the practice of communicating between yourself, your dramatic, direct experiencer of life and its drama, and your inner caregiver. Back and forth. giving and receiving. The love flow. Actually, all of these perspectives are a love flow because they're about meeting human needs. And from these, you get your virtues. You don't need a book telling you. It's a kind of natural evolution into the social brain, and some of it is taught. But it's basically something that exists because we are social creatures. The view of that imaginary charge of imagination can create experiences for us and give us a guided meditation on being at the beach, the sunshine, or on the mountain climbing, whatever comforts you, whatever helps you feel better. And there's this drive to feel better, which can work against us when there's trauma. This trauma creates helplessness around your needs and your feelings, and that can't be handled emotionally because of the intensity of the anxiety. Can't live like that and make you sick. So the brain symbolizes and generalizes. So if you were terrified in a trauma significantly by a cat, perhaps later on the generalization, the symbolization means that you would be frightened of all cats. Any cat. It's really bad, anybody mentioning a cat. I met a lady who even the mention of a banana made her terribly sick. She could not mention like a peanut butter and banana sandwich. No, nothing about bananas. Well, the impact, you picture a force hitting a round beach ball, right? Boom. Where does that force go? Spreads out. And to some extent, pushes the balloon. If it can't absorb it, it moves. You tap it a little bit, it doesn't move much. Hit it hard, it goes flying. It's been absorbed, though. The impact has been lessened by that spreading out. In the brain, that's the symbolizing of the need that was suppressed or the situation, too, that you were trying to deal with, to whatever situation you might encounter in the present. So that's why, for instance, some people who have been abused in their childhood, and then they seek out an abusive mate. Well, why? Because that picture is symbolic, safely remotely, supposedly, in terms of anxiety. It's a comfort. It's a distancing from that original pain, which has never been resolved. Right? Hasn't been resolved. So, but the hope dope involved and the addiction is okay. In this safer symbol, I can try to meet that, which is actually a loss now. Meet that need, because that need is still pushing. It hasn't been resolved. Force has not been gone. That need is still pushing to be expressed and be felt and to be integrated. So it's there. So they marry a mate who they think in this case, and they have they're very reminiscent of some attitudes in their own family, and maybe even worse, in order to have a similarity to the feelings they had when they were a truly helpless kid. So they might even marry someone worse than their uh, caregivers. You know, they're imperfect caregivers. So when we're all imperfect, okay. Um, and then they struggle for what? To have a different outcome. This time, I will convince this mate to truly love me. Well, the need has been poisoned with the helplessness. To even get close to that need starts to become painful. So you kind of like staying in the struggle. You see? It's kind of like my own childhood. There was a big coldness in terms of emotional compassion and so on. So that some of the relatives confessed later that they thought of taking me away. But no, well, my parents were hurting people too. Nobody's fault in these situations really. But how did I cope with that as a child? Well, symbolized. There was a loving family out there somewhere that was trying to get to me. They were my real family. They're trying to get to me. You can see how this would give birth to people going, oh, I had a past life. And it was good. It was, something like that. Oh, the mind is amazing. And it imagines all kinds of things. Goes off on any tangent, right? But, yeah, so I mentioned a loving family. And my last hope for love was my dad. He was more sensitive. But he was cold. And he, at times, could also be a little violent, a little mean, especially emotionally. Hey, but what I did was I had a symbol of him, remember? Symbolization, generalization. So, well, a father might be too close to the pain. How about a big brother? He's coming to save me. And there's a loving father and mother he came from. And that were emotionally sensitive and warm. They, so I would dream that he was, here's the struggle. He was dreaming, I was dreaming that he was trying to catch me, trying to get me to take me home. Let's say, and I was felt lonely, so I had a twin of myself. I was running with my twin, so I wouldn't feel as lonely. Struggle, and he was chasing me, but he could never catch me. Now, why is that? It's just like that abusive relationship. You love the struggle. The struggle has become your comfort, your addiction. So, can't catch me. And if kids started to, show compassion and love for me or whatever, or anybody, I had to push them away. Because I had to go back home. That just heightened the pain. So you see how this works. It's a very simple concept. But how do you unlearn the helplessness? Well, you have to get back in touch And these different perspectives aimed at comfort actually are slowly wearing down the symbolic defenses that you're having, slowly wearing them down. And then at some point, the original feeling of helplessness and the need to express and to feel what happened to you comes forward. And it might come out, it usually comes out as cry. It's always a cry of some kind. If it's before you had tears, maybe it's just a cry. And it can be like what Arthur Janoff experienced, which turned him on to some of this concept, which he had a different view. I think this that I'm promoting is better, or I wouldn't bother. Yeah, do I dare say that? He was my hero. And I was always reluctant. He was a much smarter guy than me and so on. But there's something that he missed. And like I say, there's the dumbest among us can have great insights occasionally, just because of who that person is and where they are and what they went through. They'll see something nobody else sees. So value value your opinion. Who cares if it's wrong? We put our opinions together and we see what's most likely and we go forward. But opinions are valuable. Yours no less than anyone else. You have a right to them. Not a right to hurt people because of them. Not the right to believe things blindly, not accepting any testing or objectivity that violates the virtue of truth. But yeah, you have a right to your opinion. Yeah, that's a freedom that we have in the United States, which is really nice. And the rest of the world, that's doing well or doing what we do, and maybe are doing it better. And other countries are doing it well, better. And it all points to democracy. We need democracy. The only way we're going to grow compassion and truth and the art, virtue of art from the creative empathy. That's the only way we're going to grow these things, is if we talk to each other and we care about each other. We do it in a caring way, not shouting at each other and putting each other down. And it doesn't get us anywhere. But there is a force that's keeping us in our hope dopes. And this system of inner mind communication taps into things that we do regularly to comfort ourselves. But it says, do all of these things more intensely, aimed at becoming more creative, more objective, and more compassionate. Do these things intently, and also do them together. When you do them together, the symbolic chains begin to break and let you go through the process of feeling what really is no longer a need. Once you felt, not talked about, but felt and expressed and can play with, get to the point you can joke about it. Of this oppression that you went through of your needs because of trauma, because of helplessness. No helplessness, no trauma. Okay? Underneath The helplessness is the helplessness to feel and process what happened to you, express it, play with it, and to be able to focus on it, which are three other techniques in inner mind communication that tap more into who you were before you had a subconcept. Although the other approaches also in to challenge who you think you are, who you think you have to be, breaks the chains. Arthur Janow's book, his last book, may rest in peace, was subtitled The Hidden Script That Rules Our Lives. And he talked about pre-language infant trauma. Life before birth, the hidden script that rules our lives. This was a great genius in psychology that has not been recognized, even though every day people are realizing more and more that he was right. It's maddening. They'll attack the name of his book or people who tried to do his therapy and they did it wrong. Misnomer, like what he was saying, his practice, and also not consider that it evolved. First perspectives. Hello. That's a disease model. If you're going to go quick and you're going to do things fast and you're going to do things in depth and you're moving out of just doing healthy things for yourself and looking for major change, the path that Janow played out, Arthur Janow, is the way to go. It's not for everyone. Some people, they're too hurt for that. And it's very expensive. Because insurance companies don't want to cover something that takes time. Unfortunately. Oh well. But, and it's not for everyone. You can't. There's some people that are just flat out too hurt. Because you have to have a place of comfort to expand from, to expand the comfort with. And unlike what he said, I think the therapist and who the therapist is has a lot to do with it. They are more healthy people with real connections to these empathies, worked out a lot of their hope dope, so they're not ruled as much by it. That these are better therapists, and people who haven't walked the walk, talking the talk is not enough. That's my advice is in terms of finding someone to help you with a process even like mine, which is much lighter because the whole intent is to comfort. And it sets up some safety guardrails. When do you go over the, okay, let's go back. Now we know what happens in trauma. Needs are attached to overwhelming anxiety because of helplessness. Got it? It gets these needs and this situation gets symbolized and generalized so that we can have some hope that we can make things better. that we are in control, not helpless. Okay? Once you realize this, the real needs, once you felt them, not just talked about them, felt them and expressed them, and get to the point where you can focus on it, play with it, with humor or whatever, you can express the feeling completely within that feeling of helplessness, which Jano dramatically called the conscious coma. Until you can do that, until you have done that, you're not quite a fully baked loaf of bread there. It comes to internal change. And when to the degree that you do this, and everything's relevant, but to the degree you've done this, to that degree, you realize that these original needs trapped in helplessness are losses. They're not real. They're not here and now. They're losses from the past. And so what you need to do when you have that realization, you need to grieve that loss and let it go. And until you've done that, you can't truly forgive from your heart people involved or people in general. It's harder to be a forgiving person until you've been someone who is truly experienced their lives, not just gone through the motions. So after that, after you've grieved and after you let go, then you can forgive. What happens after forgiveness? What is the hardest thing of all? Is to realize how the hurt in you, this helplessness, this hope-dope struggle, which could mean for people who've done really bad things that the only safe position coming out of the symbolic position coming out of being abused was to be the abuser. And that's something we all back away from. They're evil, they're demon possessed. And people in need of help. Some we can help, some we can't. They're a danger to the population, yes, we have to lock them away. We should apply some disincentives doing bad things, but that doesn't actually heal them. That's not enough. We should be more about healing than we are punishing. Punishing attitude says change now. I'm going through this process I just talked about. Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense, does it? So at the end of this entire process, you can face the most terrible thing of all, as they say, when the bad that happened to you, you did to others. The others suffered because of your inability to feel and to love and to act in compassionate ways and to truly embrace with trust your virtues, the origin of those virtues, objectivity, creativity, passion. And then the tears of remorse are real. Because you realize you're no longer that person. You're glad. You're sad and you're glad. It's over. You've been born again. You've taken up your cross, as in to religiousized this, and you walk the walk, gone through the process, and you're born again. All you have to believe in with the IMC philosophy is love. Did all of this evolve? Yeah, definitely. Love is about need and meeting it, so complex problems, difficult people. It's a need. They bless the whole process. You wouldn't have the drama and you wouldn't have life without need and meeting it. You need to survive. You need for the species to survive, your species to survive. It's a push. It's a force of nature. Your virtues are there because they evolved. What did these compassionate, objective, and creative uh, abilities evolve from? Well, from the need in a socialized animal to have them. And then they symbolize it if they're little sacred, they symbolize it into some religious code, and make demands, and get off in this punishment bull. If you don't do this, fires will take over you and burn you. And this is a message from your loving God in my book. Not the other books. The other books are wrong. Just my book. That's why I'm for spiritual, but not religious. It's just, yeah, it's you can have a little touch of that in there. Some of it's good. We don't base your life on that. Reality is inside you and between yourself and others. You're a social animal. Whether you can do this process well or not depends kind of on your living circumstances and whether you have supportive people around you. It helps a lot. You do what you can with what you got. That's all you can do. Right? Pat yourself on the back if you did that. You're a real hero. In the eyes of the person, your imaginer, your creator, your creative artist in you, you've just been the hero of love in your drama. Tried to quit drinking and you did your best. You're the hero of love. Your drama. Appreciate that. And the drama is the story. Good and bad and all that. You need that for drama. Drama gives us meaning, gives us purpose. Otherwise, what is it? Nada. No, drama is it. It's space-time. If I could dare get jump and a leap to Neil deGrasse Tyson's amazing intellect for even a moment, it's space-time and it's entropy. Why don't you think about that? You can ask a physicist. But funny how the world falls apart. Drama. Space-time. Isn't it fun? Yeah. So play evolved into the ability to create play, to be the imaginer in your life, to know that what you see is how you imagine it to be, and to see things from different perspectives feeds that ability to be creative. The ability to focus that evolved into objectivity, right? That's where the virtue of truth comes, the virtue of art I just described, and previously, the last thing I said, categorizing, Things blend, don't they? Okay, forget that. I lost myself. Over on the compassion side. Well, compassion does what? It draws out. It gives safety for people to feel and to express their needs truthfully, directly. So where'd that come from? The ability to express. And then in social context, you need the permission to feel. I mean, I guess, the babies get comforted and they calm down, whatever. If there's not the safety to feel, then there's a problem. Yeah, but I'm going too deep and going into the areas where it's just gonna blur the picture more than help. So let's just leave it at that. Compassion evolved from the need to express honestly your feelings and your needs. And what is comfortable? What is well, we learn over time when things are appropriate to express and not, and so on. And we begin to sense, who you can share with and who you can't. I've made some sacrifice here. I have shown you my imperfections. I'm a great believer in the Linux philosophy, open code, freedom. Take whatever I've said in this presentation, this distribution, this of inner mind communication practice. Now, I've gone into how to practice some of these things in the past, and it's going to be a long video. Right? So let's go to some guardrails. I had the last video talked about when and why and how to do this kind of practices. Well, if you're going and trying to expand your comfort zone, that also creates a bit of force and anxiety itself. And you have to be, it has to be comfortable to you. But even though you were aiming to be comfortable and, aiming to comfort yourself, the expansion can be a little bit too much, too fast, and that goes into what are dreams telling you? Well, if you're having night terrors, it means that you are opening up things from before you had words. Those kind of traumas are wordless and kind of, I want to, if I'm going to dramatize it, wordless terror. So if you're opening that up before you're ready to really integrate it, you see your mind throwing you into the terror or forcing you to relive something without really integrating it outside of your comfort zone. Now, if you're having, that's a night terror. A nightmare is coming more from a period where they call it ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, which is mostly about the time as a child that you had language going forward. Well, some will disagree. We go in there, you know, not seriously. Come on. Techniques don't go there. And that's good and it's bad. But ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, that's the root of nightmares. When you see that, when you have those, test it out. Remember, you are the central figure in the story of your life, and your dreams are kind of telling you a little about that in a randomized kind of way and all. But, and it has that force in it. So you're experiencing things about yourself and about what happened to you. And if you can go over the nightmare, night terror, I don't know, but you just need to back up a little bit on that one. Get some other things worked out first. And just go have an ice cream or something. But a nightmare, or there's people in it, you know, but you lost in a washing machine. That's where it's helpful to know experiences that you might have had, you know, so that you might recognize the core of your night terrors. But and that helps. That helps the impact. So it's not so impacting. Well, if you are able to do that, okay. Most people will, at least beginning of these processes, so can't do that too easily. And so by just back out, period. Back off the process. Then how do you do that? You split up process and do only one part of it, or do it very lightly, or you do one part very lightly. But just kind of staying within your comfort zone. Understanding is very important in terms of not letting emotions just carry you away, and so yeah, understanding that you are the figure, the central figure in many cases, or something you closely identify with is in your dream. I mean, that's where the meaning is, and only you can interpret that. Two people, as the great Arthur Jano said, you can have the same dream for different reasons. Two people can have different dreams for the same reason. So, people are different. Don't go looking for somebody who's going to dream interpret for you. Nonsense. Interpret it yourself. Came from your brain, didn't it? It's about you. Okay, it's about you and your life. You're the one that can interpret it once you get rid of some of the symbology, the comforting hope dopes. Yeah. Blindly following somebody because they said the word freedom. You hear that a lot. We're here for your freedom. What's freedom? Freedom to do what? Freedom to, what do you mean? You know, freedom from want? Starvation? What are you talking about? There's always freedom from what? Wise freedom means that you are promoting all of these perspectives that I'm talking about, which gives you the best chance of meeting human need. That's real freedom. Like, says you can do whatever you want to. You go out on the road and there's no signs. People are disobeying the ones that do exist. And you're ending up in wrecks that you wouldn't have had without a few disincentives out there. God bless the police. We need more of them. And they need this healing. They need this. Because they're dealing with some tough stuff. Okay. Thank an officer. Thank a nurse. Thank a doctor. And when they help you out, well, give them the glory. Give them the glory. Why not? Yeah. Anyway, how does that work in a story? Well, in my own experience, well, I had some pretty intense things come up. There was a monkey that was just so broken, and so in my dream, so broken, just shattered. And some it seemed like it was a pet, very pet that is acting in a very evil way, very harmful way. And it hurt the little monkey. And the monkey was just suffering. And I said, put it out of its misery. This is horrible what you've done. Put it out of its misery. Brush its head. That's my dream. And it was trying to do it, and it was on a mattress like I was sleeping on. Remember, the dreams are about you. And just, no, they put it on a hard surface. Terrible. Terrible. But there was a sense of other in it, It was a monkey, it was me. Maybe part of the evil was me too. Something to think about. Did I do that to myself? And that helped me cope with that once I understood what it meant and the devastation, that I felt as a child, linked to that, and linked to that with some tears, I could continue the process. Otherwise, I would, just back off for a while. Who gets my ice cream? Nestle's. I had Nestle's today. Anyway, paying attention to your body, by the way, you more and more do what's right for your body. If you let it communicate with you. But it should be an educated communication. Senses can be very deluding, self-deluding, or create illusions. There are many visual illusions that people can create. Yeah. What you see is not what you get. Not necessarily. An eyewitness, worst kind of evidence, period. Yeah, it's no evidence at all, really. People have been put to death with eyewitness accounts that were wrong. Yeah. And they were sincere people, probably, trying to get the person killed. They were just trying to avoid some anxiety and feel like the thing was going to be over. You know, that's a big push that, you know, you're going to feel if you're trying to enforce law. You know, remember that. And the other person's shoes, you might act just as they did. All right? So I can cry that there's ever been a portion of me that harmed myself or others in that horrible way, torturous way. I can cry that I was that tortured monkey. And that means I'm healing from it. And the deep need can pass over to a loss. And that can happen for you. It's good for your health. It's good for a lot of things. My blood pressure never really changed. There's a lot of stuff undone still. As one guru said, you can't call a man a dirty person if they're in the shower. Yeah. Well, it's someone who never showers. That might be different. That'd be more accurate thing to say. It is maybe a not necessarily mean thing to say. There's a reason why they didn't take care of themselves, probably because nobody took care of them. Yeah. And had another dream where I experienced bad things from people that were Christian psychologists as a child, where I refused to bow. I was an abused kid in school. I refused to bow to their pressures to have me see a counselor. So they quickly threw me into a place that was eager for money. Yeah, Christian-based deal where they forced their religion on us. They forced us into agreeing, kids, agreeing to experiments that they were doing. And for sham reasons, forcing medications on us, which I proved them wrong, and they backed off and gave it to me one more time to show how powerful they were. I can't tell you that it's hard not to be very angry at people who do these kind of inner city noise. That do these kind of things. Yeah. The one dream I had was much, much more. So, well, you know, it was a different take on the subject. It was a bunch of psychologists cornering this kid, me, okay, in the dream, probably. And then there's another me on the outside. You know, I want to break through and help that kid. And they're shoving me out and shoving me out. These professionals shoving me out. And when I got a glimpse of the kid they were trying to help, it was like he was all in symbolic ways. It was like there was a deep hurt inside that kid, like a really deep hurt, and it was expressed in rather gruesome sorts of ways. And I went, wow, can I help? Question I have about helping myself, right? I need more assistance. Maybe. But these clowns were all pushing in and cornering and afraid because they didn't understand, and they were I was very offended that they pushed me away because I could have done more for that kid than any of them. And they were shoving me up. That's which thing that I see with that kind of help you kind of situation. When you can help yourself, then the stigma of being helped, you know, really, yeah. So, I it all started off, and I know that these were psychologists in the cornering again. This was a guy with glasses. I said, "Oh, how are you?" I Bremen, I said, "Well, I met this guy before." I says, "No, you're from the glasses, yeah, yeah, you're a psychologist." He says, "That's right, so friendly." But he's part of this group. They shoved me back one more time, and I said, you're a group of idiots. You're quacks. And then I walked by again, and I turned around, and I said to that guy and to the group, I said, and I meant what I said. And that was me trying to see it symbolically trying to work through the unfair nonsense that happened to me as a child. By people who didn't have a clue what they were doing. And that has prejudiced me greatly against the normative approaches in psychology. And Janoff had it right, and they had it wrong. They're not at the cutting edge, where some of the people are getting it right and agreeing with Arthur Janoff, basically without knowing it, which is infuriating. And he made his points. And two psychologists went through primal therapy, and it was successful for them, evidently. And they refused to go back and do psychology the way they were taught because they saw it as nonsense. And which it is, but, learned, at that time, definitely. And they weren't going to do it anymore and they didn't want to do the hard work of being a primal therapist. They didn't want to do that. So they took menial jobs instead. I believe they worked as janitors or something until they could figure things out. And Janoff not being the best at in what do they call there was a book out long ago. This old mind can't remember it. Infuriating. Eating the wrong foods, am I? don't know. Alzheimer's on its way. Maybe. But better get the message out quick, huh? So these how to win friends and influence people. Some ways he didn't get that, he was right to an extent, but he looked at it more along the lines of force and said, "Don't expect me to love you." That's where I disagree. I disagree. It is about that. It's about the love for it. What else? And helplessness, not just the traumatic impact. It sets up an imprint, and that's where this. But he called them quacks a long time ago. You're right then, right today, except for very few who are doing some of the things that Janoff has developed over time had developed over time for his death. And, and that is practiced, I would assume, correctly at the primaltherapy.net. Go there. And I believe they're still in Santa Monica, California. Maybe it's a different spot. But anyway, they're doing it. They're doing it the right way. His wife is another center, but I followed them and saw them not going in the right direction. And yes, I had a primal therapist that did a lot of good for me. And she was very flawed. She was a chain smoker. She had obviously a lot of ACEs and things going on with her. And she was rejected as a therapist because she hadn't resolved enough of her issues. And that showed up in her way of approaching me. I can now look back and see where she did right and help me and where she did wrong. Which is a mile ahead of many miles ahead of what I've seen, even recently, investigating the beliefs of fully degreed psychologists today. Why I said be picky about who you're picking. Just because they had a college degree doesn't mean anything. Fortunately, nowadays, anyway. Doesn't mean much. They're still back there, still in primitive sorts of approaches that are only treating symptoms, having no real sense of a cause. And now they're seeing that ACEs is a big cause, just as Janov said so long ago, toward a tendency toward various kinds of diseases. Even tied certain levels in the types of trauma to particular diseases. And he made some guesses there, which I think will grow over time. I see science going in the right direction. I see a lot of nonsense being taught that is shy of those approaches, and an education system that I turned against as a child, unfortunately, because they just wanted you to memorize things and chant it back to them. That's not fun. And then they want to test you and try to tell you how smart you are. Is there anybody smart enough to tell anybody how smart they are? I mean, in reality, with so many other factors coming into play, you were born dumb. Really did. You're just born a genius. Maybe you were. Probably not. Other factors are involved. Epigenetics is just one. There's epigenetics. There's hormonal structuring of the brain. There's the impact of trauma on the mother and various impacts on the fetus. And then there's the birth. What kind of birth you have? Was it peaceful and good? Janos difference with the rebirth, or what if they had a good birth? Let the things come up that come up. I love Janos for that. Don't go in there with your own notions about what's wrong. The brain that created it will be the brain that tells the therapist what really happened. It means the person making their own connections. So be humble, like a scientist. And that's why I'm especially opposed to people who study what could be anybody's best guess and possibly doesn't even exist, and then go around with titles like Reverend when they have spent so much of their college time studying that. Really? And you bet they didn't study the counter arguments against their comforting symbolic beliefs. Never. So when you see, this process is religion neutral. And, don't care what you believe. Believe in yourself as much as you can. Try to believe in others. Grow trust with these practices. Trust comes from the interplay of needs and feelings and so on in society with abilities to be creative, to see things in different ways, to respect different opinions. Not BS, different opinions. And BS needs to be challenged. If it's complete symbolic nonsense, it's not a good argument to begin with. As one physicist pointed out, was one theory is it's not even wrong. That's nonsense. That needs to be challenged. Period. Admit what you do not know. Admit there are things that you might never know. Or can never know. Can ever know. Did I get there? All right. So the greatest mystics in the world are the humble scientists who know how to deal with mystery, who know how to truly appreciate it. Look for a mystic, look for a scientist. Not for somebody brandishing a title based on a large amount of nothing. Then trying to guide people in it. What is that other than brainwash? Accept my opinion based on nothing. And let me tell you how to get there. How to use that. Really? Don't believe anything I say. Test it. Challenge it. Practice it. See what you find. Okay. So, like I like to say, at the end of my boomer videos, I love that phrase. I really use that all the time. That comes from, I think his nickname is DT, the guy who does, which one was it? My two favorites. Which was that Linux channel? DistroTube, I think, is the one. I think it was DistroTube. Yeah. Anyway, well, thanks to everybody in the world who's helped to make my drama and your drama something notable, something valuable to integrate, move forward from. Be the hero of love, drama, story of your life. Yeah. Accept no alternatives. Brainwashed you. It's like doubt is important. Faith without doubt is like driving a car without brakes. Hello. Without the ability to even slow down. Yes. The humble scientist, the true mystic. All right. So, as I like to say at the end of my videos, boomer videos, is namaste. means all that's loving and good in you, not the evil that the religion says you are, all that's noble and good, and evolved to be that way in you. That power of to increase the flow of love. That universe, that absolute truth that unites us all. From that perspective, I would like to honor that perspective, that reality of precious person that you are, always will be, no matter. Namaste. And have a good day.